Ever since the mortgage crisis began, homeowners across America have been calling out for some help. Many are falling behind in their payments, hitting balloon payments coming up, can't afford to pay that, getting foreclosure notices, and many more are underwater, wondering if they will ever be able to get even on their home's values. Plus, many tell us every single day that they aren't getting anywhere trying to get their mortgage servicers to work with them, modify their deal so they can stay in their homes. So, Congress has been rolling out several programs to help, and now there is a new one just signed into law by President Obama called the Helping Family Save Their Homes Act. Sounds really wonderful, doesn't it? But how does this work? Who's eligible, and will it really help anybody save their home if they're in trouble? Email your questions to yourturn@wtvt.com. We'll try to answer as many as possible today. Joining us, Shari B. Olefson, Florida Bar-certified real estate attorney with Fowler White Boggs, and an educator, recognized expert in the current mortgage crisis, and author of a book called Foreclosure Nation. Shari, good to have you back again.
Thanks, Kathy, for having me.
So, you know, all we've heard since the beginning is the government's helping out Wall Street, but what about Main Street? Would you agree that this mess is equal parts homeowners who got into houses they couldn't afford and Wall Street saying, come on, you can do it, it's going to be easy, your home will get... I mean, are we equally at fault here, both sides?
We really are. There are a lot of things that contributed to this crisis, and we've talked about some of them, the banking industry and Wall Street and the ratings agencies, and just natural economic cycles, because we know that economies go up and economies go down. But certainly the part that we contributed are those cultural attitudes, which, if they didn't exist, Wall Street and the banking industry never would have been able to do this in the first place. And those go to things like the way we view home ownership. I mean, right. I remember, I don't know if your grandparents owned their home. Did your grandparents?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, my grandparents had their home. And I remember my grandmother telling me when I was a kid about how they used to have mortgage burning parties. What a great excuse for a party, right? Once someone in the neighborhood would pay off their mortgage, they'd all get together for a barbecue, and they'd burn their mortgages. That's completely contrary to the way our culture is today, where most people are not striving to pay off their mortgages, because if you get your interest rate, your interest tax deductions for your mortgage payments. So it's just not one of our goals. But another issue is our use of credit and our comfort level with debt. And then the third issue is just our relationship with things and materialism. And those three things together really help to create this crisis, too.
So for the people who, regardless of whether it was their responsibility or the responsibility of the mortgage guy who was going, hey, you can afford more, we're just going to fill this in for you. Politically, people have been saying to Congress, we need some help too. We need a bailout, or we need some help. So I mean, people call every day and say, I'm confused. What are these programs doing to help me? So this is the new one, the newest one, has a great title, but you know, what exactly is out there to help homeowners? I mean,
this is the newest of many. And, you know, on the one hand, we're looking and we're seeing really not a whole lot is happening yet that's working. We have to remember the president's only been in office since January, and most of these programs, even once they're in place, take at least 3 to 4 months to start seeing the impacts of. But the other piece of it is there is confusion. It's very difficult to find a single source for all of this information.
That's right.
And I have to tell you, even the bankers that are clients of ours at Fowler White Boggs have a difficult time understanding what it is that they're supposed to do. This particular new initiative, the Helping Homeowners Save Their Homes, really is a fine-tuning of the prior initiatives. So one of the things that we find out, just like with anything else, a marriage, a business, as you get into it, you see things that need to be fine-tuned. And it's the same thing with, for example, the Making Homes Affordable initiative, which the President passed, which provided for a modification and a refinance, and then about a month ago was amended to provide for short sales and deeds in lieu of foreclosures. There are some issues that are sort of emerging out of that. So this latest initiative is really designed to address sort of the loopholes and the problems that have emerged out of those other things. And it does that by reducing fees for some of those other initiatives. It reduces the administrative burden. It sort of streamlines the holes that they found in those. It gives the Secretary of HUD quite a few new tools and powers to accomplish things, fund things, authorize things, report on things. And then the other big thing it does is it establishes a nationwide mortgage fraud task force, which is something this country has really needed, because those guys, and again, we've talked about there are plenty of great mortgage brokers homeowners, but we all know now that there are
right.
plenty of bad guys who sold some of us subprime mortgages when we should not have been in them, and they are allowed to move from state to state. There was no uniform database. There was no fingerprinting in many states. Your license could have been revoked here. You just moved to Washington. This unified national task force will put a stop to that with those types of preventions.
Okay, so from what I'm reading, what this allows is for a bankruptcy judge to modify your mortgage, among other things. Here's my question. All these rollouts to help people, help save your homes, help modify your homes, help make people happy.
Right.
Has anybody really saved their homes through any of these initiatives?
That's a great question. And the number that is floating around, of course, you know, this is like a reality TV show where, you know, you have different segments, what do they call them, alliances, who are sort of you know, whispering, we're winning, that kind of thing. Of course, you know, when the administration comes out and, you know, wants to say how well these initiatives are working, they're saying these is making homes affordable, for example, will eventually help 9 million people. Well, a lot of the experts say that's very, very ambitious. So far, the number that supposedly have been helped is 50,000 people. Okay. Now, it's only been a few months, and even then, we don't really know for sure if those statistics are accurate. On the other hand, though, they have set up a website for the Making Homes Affordable now. That's makinghomesaffordable.gov. So anyone who wants to know if they qualify for that, it's an amazing website. You can go and just answer questions, and the website will tell you if you qualify or not. And they say that there have been 17 million page views on that website. So a lot of people are getting that information, but again, it takes a while to trickle down.
Right. Let's take a break and talk with Shari about what circumstance you'd have to be in for this actually to help you, and how you find out about it and who's actually being helped. We'll be right back. New program out, signed by President Obama, supposedly to help people save their homes. It's called the Helping Families Save Their Homes Act of 2009. Shari Olefson, author of Foreclosure Nation and real estate attorney with Fowler White Boggs, with us today. Michelle emails us, after my husband was laid off, we thought we would be a bit proactive and modify and notify our lender of our situation. Okay, sounds like a good idea. I also had the HOPE program behind me, but my lender would not help me. They said that because we had a FHA loan that was not Fannie or Freddie, and the fact that we have a manufactured home, they could not help us. This month our mortgage payment will not be on time. Homeowners beware. This will not help everyone. Well,
correct, and that's one of the big challenges that we've run into with these problems, is a lot of the time the qualifying criteria are way too high for most people to fit into them. That's why only 50,000 people have really been helped so far.
You know, and every single day, every time we do this, we get people saying, I call my lender, I call my servicer, they won't answer the phone, they won't work with me, they won't, you know, didn't the banks get money to help people? Nobody understands why the banks are not helping people, why they're not modifying.
That's a great question, because the strategies have really been threefold so far. And there's only so much resources on Capitol Hill. So the government has been looking at, do we make efforts to free up credit? So in other words, do we get cheap money to the bank? Do we give them incentives? Do we focus on the banks and getting them to be lending? Or do we focus on people like us who really need the help and figure out ways to give them tax breaks or give them money or give them, you know, the resources, homeowners, the resources that they need? Or do we focus on the bad guys and create new, you know, regulations for Wall Street and this task force for the mortgage industry? I mean, there's only so much that can be done, and there are those three avenues that really need to be done together.
Well, let me ask you about something that sounds like a little bit inside banking, inside baseball here, but there is this provision in the thing that Obama just signed called the Service Safe Harbor provision. And my understanding is one of the reasons that banks were reluctant to modify loans was that their investors and bondholders could have sued them.
Right.
if they modify loans for people. And this would give the banks protection, supposedly, from
Right.
being sued if they modify.
You know,
Is that
Kathy,
right?
we've all, I mean, this is such a frustrating time, and it's so difficult for so many people. And these are homes we're talking about. These aren't cars or boats or flat screen TVs. They're homes. And so it's a heart-wrenching time. But we've been so busy